Next is forced labor. There are two important elements that we need to remember under forced labor. First is polo, and the next one is palya. Polo, this is a policy made by the Spanish government that is being imposed on everyone, including Spanish citizens, Spaniards, and Filipinos, that they are forced to volunteer or forced to be involved in government projects, construction, and infrastructures. So this is a forced labor imposed on everyone. So in order for us to easily remember what a polo is, tingnan lang natin dito. May polo dito. So polo is usually worn of employees going to work. So magsusuot ka ng polo para magtrabaho. Palya is a payment made to the Spanish government for the Spaniards to be exempted from polo. So this is a payment made by Spaniards to be exempted from polo. So para alala natin to, tandaan lang natin yung Tagalog word na palyado. So, ano yung palyado? Palyado means defective, faulty, and inadequate. That's the meaning of palyado. So palyado or falya is a defective. It's a defective form of exemption made by the Spaniards, by the Spanish citizens to be exempted from polo. So falya, palyado. So meron tayong abuses from forced labor or the polo. First is this one. They were not recruited for polo. If they're going to be recruited, madali lang kasi meron tayong falya. Sino yung nagbabayad ng falya? Ito yung mga Filipinos and those individuals who have the resources to pay for exemption. Second abuse is laborers received only a portion of their income. Hindi nabibigay, stipend is income, hindi nabibigay ng buo yung pasahod sa kanila. And worse, gratis here, kung hindi nabibigay ng buo yung stipend or yung income, ang pinakamalala dito is the Spanish government imposes gratis on the workers. Ano ibig sabihin ng workers? Ito yung example natin. Okay, buti nila maganda camera mo, bes. Gusto ko pang prenup shoot. Kung singilin ko kayo, o kung singilin ko kaya kayo para magkapera naman ako. Meaning to say, gratis is asking someone to work for you. Ang kapalit is thank you. Gratis means being grateful. Andun yung word na great or being grateful. Gratis is thank you. So yung binibigay na kapalit ng employer dun sa worker is gratis or thank you na lang. Third is this cause inconvenience on most of the Filipinos kasi nga for instance, yung mga farmers, they have their own local jobs, they have their own land to till, to develop. Dahil it's because of polo, their ordinary work, their common work, their usual jobs, their usual livelihood, it's being disturbed because of polo. So yun po yung kadalasan na abuses for forced labor. Tandaan, polo, yun yung sinusuot. Going to office, it's forced labor. Tandaan lang this one for memory retention. Palya, palyado. So it's a defective type of payment for forced labor. And then yung payment is gratis. Yun lang yung mga importanteng elements that we need to remember under forced labor. Next is haciendas owned by the friars. When I say haciendas here, it pertains to the lands. Lands owned by who? By the priests. So I've as mentioned a while ago under Prologue, ang mga pare ay kinukonsider na pinakamakapangyarihan. They are considered as the most powerful individuals in the society. They own education. They monopolize education. They monopolize knowledge. Everything is under the influence of the church. So since they have the power, meron din silang yaman. So haciendas owned by the friars, yung mga ordinaryong lupa na minana pa ng mga Pilipino sa kanununuan nila, the ancestors, ay were recaptured or re-owned by these friars. So for instance, if you have a land owned originally prior to the colonization of Spain, sa inyo talaga yung lupa na yon. Tapos since we were colonized by Spain, aangkinin yun ngayon ng Spanish government under the supervision of the friars. So yung original owner of the lands naging tenants. Ano yung tenants? Sila na yung nagrerenta dun mismo sa lupa nila. So the right of these priests over the land is obtained under the decree, under the supervision of the Spanish king. The reason why these friars have the authority over land is because first is we were colonized, and next the Spanish kingdom, the Spanish king, were able to release some land titles. It was distributed dun mismo sa mga pare. Obviously, this causes injustice to common Filipinos. That's why Rizal and majority of the Filipinos wanted to have agrarian reforms. Agrarian reforms, when I say reforms, it's change. Pagbabago sa pag-aari ng lupang pagsasaka. That pertains to agrarian reforms. So nung narinig to ng mga pare, obviously ayaw nilang maagawan pa ng yaman. As an act of retaliation, bilang ganti, ang ginawa ng mga pare is to raise the increase of rentals on common Filipinos. So gusto mo ng pagbabago, gusto ni Rizal ng pagbabago, bilang ganti, since they don't have the resources to protect themselves, they don't have the resources to fight towards injustice dahil nga wala silang resources, justice delayed, parate ang nararanasan ng mga Pilipino. In effect, nagiging indolent sila. So ano ibig sabihin ng indolent? Sa Tagalog, wala nang pakialam. Ito yung sinasabi ni Kong TV, buong bansa ay wala nang pakialam. Bakit walang pakialam? Dahil nga nagiging manhid na sila. Nagiging manhid sila dun sa pagiging abusive ng mga friars, ng mga pare. Okay, so we can still trace back why majority of the lands owned by the Catholic priests right now are really huge. Kung titingnan nyo lang yung lupa ng Ateneo, ang laki-laki. Minana pa nila yun dito, panahon pa ng Espanya. So next is, this is the type of system being implemented by the friars during the hacienda ownership. It's called feudal system. So feudal system is like this. The land is technically owned by the king. Binibigay yung privileges and titles dun sa mga nobles. Nobles, ito yung mga friars. Nobles kasi they're good people. Why are they considered as good people? Because they have the privilege to obtain knowledge on most of the things that are going around our environment. Kasi they have access sa books and information. That's why they're considered as nobles. So bilang alliance sa mga friars dun sa hari, in return binibigyan ng hari ng mga titulo yung mga nobles. Ang nobles in return, nobles would be faithful dun sa plano ng hari sa Spain. So binibigay yung lupa, towns are being provided sa soldiers, and then in return the soldiers will serve the king. So the nobles can provide also titles dun sa soldiers. Ito yung mga Guardia Civil. And then the friars who own those big parcels of land, they are obligated and they are responsible to hire workers. Ito na ngayon yung polo. Yung workers or the peasants, sila yung nagtatanim, sila yung nagde-develop dun sa lupa for crop development. Tapos pag araw na ng ani, binabalik yun mismo sa friars. Tapos sa portion is binabalik ulit sa pare. So ang natatanggap lang ng mga peasants, gratis, minsan just a portion of their income. Okay, that's how feudal system works. Last na tayo. Sa last element under prologue is the Guardia Civil. Guardia Civil or the constabulary. So ano ba yung mga Guardia Civil during the time of Rizal? Constable or constable, ang brief definition for constable is law enforcement. The main duty of law enforcers or yung mga kapulisan natin is to serve and protect. What is being highlighted under this element is this one. They're supposed to serve and protect the community. Since they have the power to enforce the law, kadalasan, they also abuse their power by maltreating people, by maltreating innocent people. So this happened dun sa pinanood nyo sa Secrets of Rizal's Family, dun sa nanay ni Rizal. Wala pang sapat na ebidensya na siya mismo yung pumatay dun sa aso, pero ipinakulong kaagad yung nanay ni Rizal. So Rizal directed his satire against the hatred Guardia Civil. Satire is ang brief definition for satire is just an attack. Attack pero medyo indirect attack. Indirect attack on the policemen. So ito yung satire ni Rizal. Anong satire ni Rizal? Yung novel na No Limit Tangere. So inatake ni Rizal yung abuses ng Guardia Civil under the character of, by using the character of Elias dun sa No Limit Tangere. Okay, so in this image, how can you serve and protect if wala ka namang baril? How can you serve and protect if andun yung mababa yung tolerance mo? Mababa yung tolerance mo to maintain peace and order. Paano ka makakapag-serve and protect pag meron ka nakikita mga kapulisan nandito sa computer shop? So next we go to chapter 1. Chapter 1. Before we discuss chapter 1 as a whole, I have a question here. How many jobs can you handle right after college? So you can either be a full-time employee or a part-time employee. So pag part-time ka, you can handle multiple jobs. Pwedeng dalawa, pwedeng tatlo. Siguro at most is tatlo na. But if you are a full-time employee, usually isa lang ang kaya mong hawakan. And now, let's check ilan ng trabaho ni Rizal. Chapter 1, Advent of a National Hero. Now, Rizal, obviously, alam naman ng karamihan na si Rizal ay isang doktor. Pero what type of doctor? He's a medical doctor. Ang specialization ni Rizal is to being an ophthalmic surgeon. So, ano bang ibig sabihin ng ophthalmic surgeon? This is a doctor who specializes dun sa pathophysiology ng mata. So any illnesses related to the eyes is handled by this type of specialization. Iba to sa optometrist. Ang optometrist, ang primary duty of the optometrist is to check the eyes kung malinaw, if it's still able to read. Yun lang ang main duty. So sila yung gumagawa ng grado, sila yung gumagawa ng eyeglasses or ng reading glasses. So kinakalibrate, nire-regulate ng yun ang main job. Although they are also called doctor, ang main job ng optometrist is to calibrate our eyes so that the eyes can still read as normal as possible. Whereas if you are an ophthalmic surgeon, ang ginagawa ng ophthalmic surgeon is to assess the eyes. Kung may sakit ito, ibabalik niya ulit yung sa normal na vision. Now, the reason why Rizal pursued ophthalmic surgeon is because may katarata, merong problema sa vision yung nanay niya. Okay, so ito yung mga maraming trabaho ni Rizal. Move ko lang dito. He's also a traveler. Makapansin natin dito. Rizal is also a traveler. And then he's also a prophet. So I'll just highlight those words that are in yellow. Kasi sila yung medyo hindi usual or sila yung medyo komplikado yung pagbibigay ng term. Like ethnologist, surveyor, cartographer, bibliophile, philologist, folklorist, satirist, and polemicist. Compared dun sa ibang term, medyo familiar na tayo. Okay, yung pinaka komplikadong trabaho lang na naging trabaho ni Rizal is being a physician, being an ophthalmic surgeon. So, surveyor, ano bang surveyor? If you're aware on kadalasan sa construction, may makikita kayong tao na ganito yung equipment. So, surveyor is a person who uses this device. So the main job of the surveyor is to survey the land. Calculate the areas of land parcels. Kasi nga, ang trabaho ni Rizal is to travel, is to explore the world. So part of that is to survey the land. Kasi cartographer din si Rizal. Ano ba yung cartographer? Balikan natin yung cartographer. Nandito yung cartographer. Ito. Cartographer siya. Tapos, he's also a traveler. And then, he's a naturalist. He loves nature. And then, what else? He's also a farmer. So, farmer, nature, and geographer. Geographer. So, magkaugnay ang geographer and then cartographer. At saka yung pagiging surveyor. Ang pagiging surveyor po is surveying the lands. Land parcel. Kasi cartographer siya. Ano bang ibig sabihin ng cartographer? Gumagawa ng mapa. So, landscape. Nandun yung landscape architects. It's being used by cartographers and urban planners. So, by using this device, makikita mo yung sukat ng land. Makikita mo yung sukat ng land if it's appropriate for building construction or not. So, ito yung surveyor. Ito yung naging trabaho ni Rizal while traveling. Rizal is also an ethnologist, cartographer, and then bibliophile. So ano bang bibliophile? In order for us to easily remember bibliophile, kunin lang natin yung ibig sabihin ng file. File, pedophile. Ano ibig sabihin ng pedophile? Pedo means child, and file means lover. So, kung mahilig ka sa bata, ang tawag sa'yo pedophile. Kung mahilig ka sa libro, ang tawag sa'yo is lover of books, bibliophile. So, bakit siya bibliography? Sa last part ng books, makikita natin yung bibliography, nandun yung different references. That's why bibliophile, lover of books. So, Rizal, lover of books. Cartographer, kunin natin yung chart, making charts, practice of making maps, and then ethnologies, and yung ethnic, it is associated the word culture. Kasi nga Rizal loves to travel a lot. Ito yung map, and then Rizal likes to observe a lot of culture around the world, including, especially when he realized that there's a big difference between the culture of Japan and then America. And then he was also surprised why the culture of Spain is different. Once na napunta niya yung Spain mismo, napansin niya na bakit iba yung kultura ng Spain. Sa Espanya, iba rin yung kultura ng Spain dito sa Pilipinas. So next, punta tayo sa other job description ni Rizal. He's also a philologist. Philologist, wisdom, study of language. Andun yung philo is file, ando pa rin yung file means lover, and then logos pertains to knowledge, logos pertains to reasoning. So if you're a philologist, if you actually love knowledge, if you actually love reasoning, you must first learn how to use the language. A philologist pertains to the use of language. So bakit siya philologist? Kasi si Rizal was able to create new words that would describe create new Tagalog words that would describe a certain event or a phenomenon in the English culture. So may ginawa si Rizal na Tagalog word na naaayon dun sa isang karanasan sa English culture. Folklorist, ito yung impluensya ng yaya kay Rizal. So ano yung folklorist? Folklore, ito yung mga kwentong may katatakutan tulad nito. The reason why Rizal was very inclined on this is because he was exposed to the different stories made by his caretaker. Satirist is next is pagiging satire ni Rizal, and then polemicist. So sa satirist, you try to ridicule. You try to ridicule, and then your main objective is to for the other person to achieve improvement. Okay, so ibig sabihin ng ridicule, pupunahin mo yung mali nung kausap mo, pupunahin mo yung mali ng ibang tao para mapansin ng ibang tao na mali siya at baguhin niya yung pagkakamali niya. That's pagiging satire. The primary weapon of being a satirist is to use your wit or use your pagiging wise, yung katalinuhan mo as your weapon. Next is polemicist. Polemicist, let's try to extract the word pole. Hindi natin yung word na pole dun sa polemicist. So sa pole, mapapansin natin meron dalawang side. Sa taas at sa baba. What's the main objective of being a polemicist? It's to establish the truth of a specific belief and the falsity of the contrary belief. So polemicist, merong pole. Meron dalawang side. Yung katotohanan, the truth, at saka yung pagiging mali. Ang aim ng pagiging polemicist, it's connected with this one, pagiging satire. So, if you're going to ridicule someone, pupunahin mo yung mali nung isang tao, like it's actually present sa debate. You're going to ridicule, you're going to point out the mistake of the other person. Your main objective also is to improve the mistake of the other person. So, aalamin mo yung falseness na makikita dun sa kabilang tao. Pag inalam mo, pag sinabi mo na ito yung mali at ito yung tama, you're being a polemicist. Now, the reason why you have to identify yung pagiging mali or yung the state of being false of a statement or the situation of a person is to at least realize yung pagiging truthful ng isang sitwasyon. Kung alam mo na mali yung ginagawa mo, kailangan malaman mo rin yung tama. So, dalawang importanteng elemento na dapat natin makita for the polemicist is the element of being truthful. Why is it true? Because there's an element of being false. Sa satirist, pagiging satire, ang objective mo lang is unahin yung mali nung kausap mo para mag-improve siya. So hindi mo technically pinipresent kung how can he improve himself. No, pwede mo ilagay doon, pag nilagay mo na yun, nagiging polemicist ka. Polemicist and then satirist are intertwined with each other. So here are some of Rizal's invention.